Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we've got the pleasure being in the presence of the YouTube champion.
Yes, sir.
Sound effects and all.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And today we're here at this monstrosity. This monstrosity behind me is called the Copper Box Arena. And this is where Frank Warren has most of his shows. And I'm not being harsh. Look, to be fair, I don't like the look of it from the outside anyway. Look, it's not the best pleasing thing, let's be honest. But I'm talking about inside as well. I hate all these multicolored seats that they've got going on. But this is where Frank has a lot of his shows. And that's not me dissing, that's fact, right? He has a lot of his shows here. It's a decent size arena. I think it's about 7,000 or 8,000, maybe a bit more. So that's a decent size for the up and comers before they maybe jump to the O2 arena. Like a Daniel Dubois, for example, would fight here and then navigate his way to the O2 arena. So I think it's a good stepping stone. And finally, it's my hometown of Stratford. I literally live just over there.
Local boy.
And the BT Sports office, where Frank's doing his shows now, is about 30 seconds over there, sorry. So we are very, very close to Frank, me, and boxing.
It's the Queensbury epicenter of action.
It is the epicenter of action, no doubt. The un-epicenter of action, obviously, because nothing's happening here right now. The last time I was here was just before the lockdown. The Olympic boxing trials were here. And it's funny because Katie Taylor fights Pursoon August 22nd, obviously on that Matchroom card. She fought here. She fought here trying to qualify for the Olympics. It didn't happen, she lost. But Caroline Dubois fought here. A few other Brits fought here as well. So this is where the Olympic trials were taking place. So look, as much as I diss it, a lot of boxing goes on here, especially at the amateur level. So it's a good little place. It's
a nice venue for springboarding careers and kind of level testing.
Yes, absolutely.
So talking of testing levels,
I love that segue. That was good. Boom, boom.
There were a few kind of whirlwinds online the last 48 hours. You've covered it to some degree, but there's been developments. Should we shed a bit of light on that?
Yeah, it's been it's almost like a waving of the white flag, almost like an olive branch in peace, right? It's true, let's be honest, that Frank now wants to work with Eddie. And look, the first question I think you've got to ask straight off the bat is, if Frank was in Eddie's position, so the king looking down, would Frank send that message out? Probably not. Frank's shows haven't done too well recently. I mean, that's widely known. That's not me spreading a rumor. They could be better.
Shout out to Coppinger.
Shout out to Mike Coppinger, right, giving us these barb numbers.
Savage.
But I will be honest with you though, those barb numbers are shocking. Like Lyndon Arthur Spellman, Friday just gone, average viewing figures, average 3,000. I mean, that's a show put on by BT Sports. This isn't no Dave TV show or a YouTube channel. I think if I'd done a YouTube live, it'll do more than average of 3,000. So that's bad. So I guess Frank sees that and thinks, you know what, it's time to work together. And aside from all that, the fights that he mentioned are good fights as well. These are fights we would like to see. Will they happen? Don't know. My gut says no, absolutely not. I think some of them could, but I doubt that all of them will. Obviously the big one, Fury Joshua, that will happen, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I did like Yard Boazzi. That's one that we've always spoken about, right? I mean, right now it's a 50-50 fight. But the others, like, what did he have on there? He had Chisora Joyce, never happening.
Edwards Afai.
Edwards Yafai, Kel Yafai, that could happen.
Gorman and Allen.
Good fight. Good fight. I dismissed it on my channel. I said, Allen wins. I take it back. I'm wrong, people. I stand to be corrected. I think Gorman versus Allen will be a great fight. It's a 50-50 fight.
Yeah.
I mean, Allen's not a world beater, and Gorman got smashed by Dubois. No shame in that. I think Dubois is going to go on to good things. What others did he have on there?
Sharp versus Barrett.
Okay, yeah, Archie Sharp versus Zelfa Barrett. Zelfa Barrett was previously with Queensbury Promotions. Super featherweight fight, that.
I've reached out to Archie Sharp. He's a good guy. I've interviewed him before.
Unbeaten, isn't he? Unbeaten kid as well.
Yeah, and you know what? It's always worth noting on that kind of Dave Allen model, he's got a bit of a following. He's got a following in Welling down there in South East London. So he's always kind of...
means very little when you can't sell tickets right now.
No, I know. But you know, can we just bring a bit of details under the microscope? Everyone's assuming, because Frank put this out in the last few days, that he's assuming this is a right here, right now, today. I think if we're framing this towards AJ Fury, which we assume is mid to late next year, these fights either go on the undercard of that fight or they build up towards that fight. So I'm assuming crowds are back for these proposed fights.
Possibly. And You know what it is? As much as I've said, look, olive branch, waving the white flag, the guys that he's proposing fight Matchroom's guys are good fights. Like he's got Liam Williams versus Demetrius Andrade. That's a mandatory. Anyway,
Yeah,
so that
Eddie
could
did.
happen.
Yeah, Eddie highlighted that a few of these are a bit sneaky because they're mandatories anyway.
Yeah, sneaky ones. But he's got Conor Benn there. So there's fights that make sense there. He's got Metcalf versus Anthony Fowler.
Shiraz Cheeseman.
These are good fights. And then you got the heavyweights where who knows what could happen. Look, I'll tell you this right now. Povetkin versus Dillian White won't do as many pay-per-view buys as Dillian White versus Daniel Dubois.
1 million%.
I'm not saying that Daniel Dubois, before anyone goes mad, I'm not saying Daniel Dubois is a top 10, top 15 guy. He's not. I've always said I think he's top 30 guaranteed, but anything higher than that is silly because he's not fought anyone. But I'm telling you now, in terms of intrigue from the British public, from us, we'd go crazy for it.
Domestic dust up.
We love a domestic dust up.
Yeah.
Can't beat a domestic dust up. So it is interesting. It's not good look for Frank that it's come on the back of his numbers being revealed and then being very poor. Right? Fight camp, everyone's talking about it. No one's talking about fights at the BT Sports office. Do you know what I mean? So that's the only thing that isn't good. If he was doing his own version of fight camp and these fights were also big, right?
Yeah.
And then Eddie was doing his, then they came together, it makes sense. Right now, it does look pretty desperate.
You know, it's funny, the optics, how he's obviously put it out as Queensbury versus Matchroom, but Eddie was immediately naming his fighters first when referring to any of these matchups.
Love it. Eddie's like, he's there, isn't he? He's a psychologist, isn't he? He's a manipulator. He's like, I'm not having that. Wait a
Buatsi
minute.
Yard. It wasn't Yard Buatsi under any
what's going on?
circumstances.
Eddie's already doing A side versus B side.
Yeah.
And to be fair though, there are some of Frank's fights that I think would be Fury's the A side, no doubt. What other ones could he?
Yard? Because of
Yard's a bigger draw than Buatsi.
Because of, and I rate Buatsi, but because of recent opponents and pedigree, Yard has to be the bigger
I
draw.
mean, again, Yard was 2 punches away from being WBO light heavyweight champion, and he's got a bit more about him. That's Tunde thing. It's a bit more. Everyone knows about it, right?
Lions in the camp.
Lions in the camp. Was it gonna? Did you hear thunder? Hope not. What I will say though, if this was done by Frank a year ago, can you imagine how big it sounds when you add Frampton into the equation, Josh Warrington into the equation, Billy Joe into the equation? You know what I mean? Zelfa Barrett was with him before. It's a completely different little makeup there. So it's a shame what's happened to Frank in the last sort of year. But Eddie did say that he has had a phone conversation.
Yes.
Eddie did say that he will speak to him in September.
And have a bit of grub.
Have a bit of grub. I don't know how serious he is. Sometimes he says these things serious to Sky, then Boxing Social interview him and he act like he dismisses it. I saw him do something the other day with Chucky online for JD Sports, and he was talking about getting sued by, he didn't say who, but let's be honest, we know who. And didn't Frank recently come out and do something about David Diamante?
He went into specific detail about one of Queensbury's team making complaints about Diamante being a day late for quarantine.
There you go. So,
and that was last week.
Why would you want to work with that? I mean, why would you?
Well, you bring all of these needles to the negotiating table.
You do.
I'll work with you if A, B, and C.
It's true.
You know, so I mean,
I just think Frank's had his time, and look, he's still a very, very good promoter. But there was a time when Frank was Eddie.
yes.
There was a time when Mickey Duff was Frank now, and Frank came along, you know, suave-looking kid, understood everything and took over. And right now, Eddie's doing what Frank did to Mickey Duff, and that's all it is. I mean, I hope they do work with each other because I do want to see a lot of those fights happen. But again, I think like most people, you doubt it, right?
Well, this could be dare I say, a positive that's come out of Corona for at least the sport, that it's put under so much financial pressure, it's at breaking point. And to be fair, on that second IFL interview with Umar yesterday, Eddie did kind of transparently say that the numbers are effed. He said that his numbers were good, but he was saying obviously with the lack of crowds and whatnot, the sport isn't in a great place anyway right now.
Yeah.
So that's across the board. Queensbury, Matchroom, Top Rank, you know, PBC, that's everyone.
Yeah, and the sport's effed, and I think we know that a lot of the top fighters recently have said they're not taking lowball money. A lot of the fighters have come out and said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not taking lowball money. There is no money right now in boxing, people. It's that simple.
Yeah, Terence Crawford.
Yeah, without the gate, it's not just Terence. I think even Teofimo said it about Vasil.
Yeah.
Without the gate receipts, I mean, it's a tough place to be right now. It's a really tough place to be. How many of these fights are on pay-per-view? I mean,
Well-
how many of these are pay-per-view fights? So you
Eddie,
make
this
that
is
money
obviously
back.
a publicity stunt, right? I mean, to some degree. Eddie said there are a handful of these fights that are either mandated or he'd love to help make happen.
Yeah.
The one that really comes across as a bit sensational, as in a bit ridiculous, is Dubois White, with the pending, WBC ... to be continued, Tyson Fury, etc. I mean, that whole.
But what if, I guess it comes down to, and look, it's never going to happen, let's be real. Well, never say never. But I guess it comes down to, when does Tyson Fury fight Deontay Wilder? Because if White fights Povetkin, as he will, 22nd of August, and and Tyson Fury doesn't fight Deontay Wilder till early 2021, I mean, there's going to be a time there where Dillian White has to fight someone. He has to have a fight, right?
Well, there are
Should we move venue?
The sun's out.
Sun's out.
Sun's out, guns out.
Guns are in.
No, Addy, you know what? No, let me put you on the spot.
Go on.
Right here, right now, under
Yes.
this crazy proposal from Frank. Chisora versus Joyce.
Ooh. I've said this before. Chisora pre-David Hay link up. Joyce. This Chisora now. Chisora.
Excellent.
This Chisora now. I just thought this Chisora now is a lump. He seems like a lump, and I feel like he's starting to box on his toes, which is crazy. I don't know how old Chisora is, but I'm going to guess he's 36, 37. He just seems to
Spring chicken.
A new man. And let's be honest, Joe Joyce obviously he's not had the amount of bruising fights Chisora's had, but they're not that far away in age.
Yeah.
But Joe Joyce does seem like someone that just keeps on going. But we know Chisora, when the going gets tough, Chisora will fight.
It will be a good fight, though. Yard Buatsi.
Don't know. Fence sitting. I'm actually fence sitting on that one. And I've never fence sit, but I'm fence sitting. I have no idea.
Any affiliation reasons?
Affiliate? No, I can't. I actually like them both.
Me too.
I think Buatsi's got a higher ceiling. Like if someone was to tell me in 5 years I'm in a coma, I come out of coma, God forbid, in 5 years Buatsi's gone on to mix it at world level and be world champion, like expected it. I expected it. I think Buatsi just seems like he's from the 70s with his beard and doesn't talk. It just means business.
He's silky, but he hasn't been tested as much as Yard, who's more robust than him. It's like
Yard's
this.
only been tested once.
True.
And he failed the test. He failed the test.
Come awfully close, though.
Come on, but failed. I think we forget that
No,
sometimes.
yeah, you're being harsh.
I'm being very, very harsh.
Let's
but
quote
he
the
did
great
get
Sergei
stopped.
Kovalev.
It did get stopped.
He did with
Yeah,
a jab,
it did
but
no
let's
points.
but let's
Oh, so I'm being harsh. I didn't fucking mention the jab, did I?
no, but we are talking about probably the top 5 jab in
Yeah.
history. You know,
Yeah.
it's Larry Holmes. And then Sergei Kovalev's not far behind for power jabs. Sergei Kovalev in the post-fight said, in his broken English, that it was only my experience that beat you.
Yeah, but if I'm honest with you, that's a washed Kovalev, you know. And this is not discrediting Yard, because again, I've said it's a 50-50 fight between him and Buatsi. It's a washed Kovalev.
Compared to Andre Ward Kovalev, yes.
Compared to Andre Ward, compared to Jean-Pascal Kovalev,
Yeah.
but compared to Bernard Hopkins Kovalev, I mean, Andre Ward, first Kovalev, Andre Ward, who beat Andre Ward, it's a different beast. Boxing takes it out of you, just punishments.
Can we give Yard a bit of props though for going to Russia
Have to. I'll give him
with
props,
his
but
one-man band Tunde? Can
we
we
say
give him?
props here. It makes me laugh. Would you not go to Russia for $4.3 million?
Yes, but it's the whole kind of
would
siege.
you not do that?
It's the whole siege mentality of Rocky IV.
There's so much Rocky IV in it. I love Tunde. I love what he's doing. He's been to my house.
Yeah.
I love him. That's why I said it's a 50-50 fight.
Yeah.
What he's done with building Yard up, with little promotion, he's got an Adidas deal. Right now, he's a big name in boxing. Yard walks around, people know who Yard is.
Yeah, you know, that's
credit
I
to
think
him.
I think Yard's been tested more, but I think we've got more to see from Buatsi.
Okay.
Last fight I'll throw at you just for intrigue. You know what? He doesn't get enough airtime. Andrade versus Williams.
You know what it is? This is good. That's a good one. Williams will swarm Andrade, because that's how Williams fights, right?
Can he catch him though?
That's the thing. I think we need to start putting respect on Andrade's name.
Yes.
Andrade is a world championship amateur gold medalist. Andrade is a 2-weight unbeaten world champion. Yes, he's a bit frantic sometimes with stuff he does, but this guy, you don't become that without being a good boxer. You don't. And when it comes to it, he's just a better boxer. Remember, Williams is moving up from 154 as well, so he's not a big 160 guy either, just like Andrade. So there's levels to this game. Look, Billy Joe Saunders Andrade was a 50-50 fight for me. Andrade Williams, 70-30 Andrade.
Addy, how do you? I see it's very weird whether it's 160 or 168 because I had them both as kind of like 164 guys in an ideal world, Andrade and Billy Joe. So the weight bears no like point on the actual outcome of the fight. I think they're almost a mirror of each other. There's slight differences. One might have slightly more power, but they're both awkward guys that no one wants to fight. How do you rate Andrade's power around 160, 168?
There is none. Doesn't.
So he is a mirror version of Billy Joe.
Yeah, he's Billy Joe Saunders, but he's just a guy that I think, could be wrong here, I don't know him personally, lives the life. I think when it comes down to it, who's lived a better life in the last 4 years? Who goes into training camp already fit, and who goes into training camp to get fit? Billy Joe Saunders, we know, is a fantastic boxer. So is Demetrius Andrade. They both mirror each other, even in terms of their amateur career, really. Billy Joe Saunders was an Olympian until he got sent home, I think it was, right? They mirror each other. I just feel like Andrade looks like, when I see Andrade walk around, he looks like he's around 175, 170, something like that. He just looks like he lives.
So about Errol Spence's size.
Based about Errol's size. Errol's a huge man. And I just think that could be Billy Joe's downfall in the end, living the life. When you get these fighters that go into their 30s, it's because they lived their life in their 20s, not because they somehow changed it around at 30. You've got to start living your life early as a boxer just to maintain a long career. Hence why Floyd done it, hence why Pac-Man done it, hence why Hopkins did it. It's a difficult thing to do. You've got to be so special to still be in your peak in your 30s. And I just don't know if Billy Joe can do that.
Is it worth, just as a caveat to wrap this up, is it worth mentioning that him just leaving Frank, bar one fight on an undercard of YouTubers, is it worth mentioning that he's not on that clever viral promotion? Is there anything in that, or is it literally because Billy Joe is now seen he's only in the business for quote unquote A category fights? So he only was.
I feel like there wasn't anyone to match him with. I was thinking about it the other day. I was thinking, why didn't he mention Billy Joe or Callum Smith? Then I looked at his resume and he has no 168
because they're both
fighters.
with Matchroom.
No, he has no 168 fighters to match him with.
Yeah.
And Billy Joe's not coming back down to 160, so he has no 168 fight. That's the reason he didn't mention him.
Sure.
He would have definitely mentioned Billy Joe, like the way he mentioned Zelfa Barrett, who left him.
So just on a scale of when you do transfer rumours in football, 1 being ridiculous, freezing cold, and 5 being scorching hot, expected to happen, even a 50% of this card to appear on an AJ Fury undercard or events leading up to that, how likely? 1 to 5?
Oh, Antarctica.
Minus.
Antarctica.
So we're not going to see any of these fights?
Absolutely not. Eddie doesn't need to.
You don't think?
Eddie has no interest in.
So you have no faith
Antarctica.
in the quality of the grub at this restaurant?
Antarctica. What, McDonald's? Frank said today on a Boxing Social interview that he would meet him in a car park.
No, they need to go to Sexy Fish.
Mate, it's not happening.
Mayfair.
It's not happening. Like, Eddie has no need. Eddie's doing his stuff with DAZN. He's got an event in Tulsa, headlined by Cecilia Brackos versus Jessica McCaskill. He's got a pay-per-view event coming up. He's got to then look at what's going on with AJ. He's got Callum Smith. He's got Billy Joe Saunders. He's got Canelo fights. There's no interest.
Can Corona have the last word?
No.
If there's a second wave, God forbid.
He's already doing this. He's got the fight camp thing set up now. He's close with Dana White. Dana White's given him all the information he needs to continue to do this behind closed doors. He's fine.
Dana, if you're listening, please do the next event on an actual beat. We're done?
Yes.